David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review. Today I have a uniquely designed pen for you from a pen maker you're most likely not that familiar with. I was not familiar with them until Papier Plume, the New Orleans-based retailer, sent this pen to me on loan for review. The pen is from Alexandre Duboc and it is called La Flèche. Now what I'm going to do today is go over the parts and features of the Duboc La Flèche, talk about what I care for and what I don't care for. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample. The pen arrives in this rather simple box. The drawer slides out, and here we have a pen. This is the Alexandre Duboc La Flèche. Now, La Flèche is French for the arrow, which is a nod to the design where we have the arrow in the pen resting in its quiver here, which is we'll call it a cap. Duboc is based in France and has been making one-of-a-kind pens since 2002. Each of his pens are unique, incorporating interesting materials. This pen represents the first time he's produced a line of pens for a retailer. Let's begin by taking a look at the end of what I'll describe as the cap. On top, it's inlaid with a metal circle and the Alexandre Duboc logo. This inlay is very slightly raised. The extended cap is made from ebony wood from Gabon, which is a country on the Atlantic coast of Central Africa. Up close you could see the pitting and the grain of the wood, which is really neat to see. When you hold the pen, the wood has a bit of warmth to it, and I've always cared for the feeling of natural materials like that on pens. The cap is straight, and it ends with a silver metal ring, where we have a step down to about an inch of exposed pen. The cap unscrews, and this is where the name of the pen comes into play. As I mentioned, it's called La Flèche, or the arrow. So unsheathing this pen feels like pulling an arrow out from a quiver. And as you can see, the pen sits very far down in this cap. The pen is made from a gold fractal resin. There are little pieces of chunks of material mixed in here which produce an interesting design comprised of a lot of black and white and various shades of gold. The barrel is straight, and then on the end it is rounded and has what appears to be a circular piece of mother of pearl. The La Flèche comes with a stock number 6 JoWo stainless steel nib. It is available in extra fine, fine, medium, or a 1.1 stub. And here's a look at the plastic feed. The section is straight. It's a decent thickness, and even though I personally prefer a concave section, I find it comfortable to use, even for longer writing sessions. There is a slight step up to the threads, which I don't find to be sharp or uncomfortable, and another very small step up to the barrel. The pen is plenty long enough to use unposted, which is how the pen was designed to be used. Now, you could reverse this cap and place it on here, but it doesn't make for the most comfortable writing experience. It's not secured on here and it kind of moves around, but as I said, I don't believe the pen was designed to be used in that manner. This is a cartridge converter pen. It will accept standard international cartridges of both short and long length, and a converter is included. Since there is some metal here on the section, eyedropping this pen would not be recommended. The main issue I have with this pen is the price. The Duboc La Flèche retails on the Papier Plume site for $595. Now, it's not that I don't feel this pen could potentially have a good valuation at that point. It's just that in order for me to feel that way, I believe it would need to have a gold nib. Now, there's been a contention in the community about what price point you should expect a gold nib to be offered on a pen as opposed to a steel one. When you start to get up into pens with steel nibs in the $300 to $400 range, you'll begin to hear folks complain a little bit. Now, personally, I don't consider myself a gold nib elitist. For the most part, the difference doesn't bother me too much because I feel a steel JoWo nib performs very well. I've purchased pens in the low $400 range with steel nibs and didn't feel that that was a bad price at all. And I've defended many steel nib pens in that price range. However, with this specific pen, the price is just under $600, and I feel that that's a lot to ask of the market without having a gold nib included. Now, I do care for the unique design. I appreciate things that don't look like anything else out there on the market, and this pen definitely stands out in that regard. I really like the materials. This wood looks very sharp, and while certain marbled or tortoiseshell-like resins haven't been my favorite, I do think that this material looks nice. I just wish it had a gold nib to help you out mentally with the perceived value of this pen and kind of complete the package, so to speak. So thanks go out to Papier Plume for providing this pen on loan for review. There will be a link in the notes below where you can check this pen out on their site. Now it is time for some measurements, size comparisons, and a writing sample. Here we go with some size comparisons for the Alexandre Duboc Flèche. This is what it looks like with a Visconti Homo sapiens. Here it is with a Lamy 2000. And here it is with a Sailor King of Pen in ebonite. And in regard to three other black pens, here it is with an Aurora 88 Black Mamba, a Mont Blanc 149, and then finally a Pilot Custom Urushi. In regard to some uncapped comparisons, this is what it looks like in regard to the Mont Blanc 149, the Visconti Homo sapiens, as well as the Lamy 2000. In regard to a writing sample, here we go with the Alexandre Duboc, and it's the Flèche, which is L-A, which means the arrow. And this is a medium stainless steel nib. And the ink that I'm using today is Papier Plume. House of the Rising Sun. This is what the ink looks like. It's a very nice kind of burnt orange. It's something I care for a great deal. Looks somewhat similar to the Monteverde's Mandarin Orange. And then this is what it looks like in comparison to Noodler's Apache Sunset, which is a little more on the kind of lighter orange side of that. This is what the bottle looks like. The unfortunate thing about this is they actually recently just stopped producing this. I believe one of the dyes that was used in this ink is no longer available, and so they had to stop producing this. And so I have a feeling that this is going to be one of my pen regrets down the line, is not picking up an additional bottle of this, because I've used a fair amount of this ink, and I know I'm going to end up going through all of this because this is one of my favorite oranges. In regard to the rest of the writing sample, the Jowo nib performs just fine. There's no problems with it whatsoever. You're not going to get a lot of line variation out of here. In regard to some ink flow, it's decent. This ink is a little bit on the drier side. In regard to reverse writing, it's a little scratchy and doesn't perform the greatest for reverse writing, but that's no big deal. And in regard to some fast writing, it keeps up just fine. So there we have the Alexandre Duboc La Flèche. Now, this is a very interesting pen with a very unique design, and I'm glad to have had the opportunity to take a closer look at it. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.